Hello and welcome to Conscious TV. My name is Iain McNay and today we have another program in our series on non-duality and our guest is Wayne Liquorman. Hi Wayne.
Hello.
Now something very significant happened to you, didn't it? You were living, let's say, a normal life, mid-30s, and you were, I say normal, wasn't normal in one way, but that's quite excessive. But you were drinking a lot, taking some drugs, playing a lot of cards. And I think you have on a 4-day binge, and then something happened that really changed your life.
Yes. At the end of this 4-day binge, which was the end of a 19-year period of alcoholism and drug addiction, the gambling was secondary. I had a moment of absolute transformation in which this compulsion I had had for the last 19 years disappeared. And I felt it go. I watched it go. And I was horrified by it. Because I didn't want to be sober, you see.
But so were you drunk at the time?
I was. I was quite drunk. But I became literally instantly sober. And I knew that that period was over. That I wasn't able to drink or do drugs anymore. And it was very strange.
It's an extraordinary thing to happen that you're drunk and,
Yes.
and suddenly you get a kind of a life-changing spiritual experience. And many people work for years and years and years with meditation and workshops and teachers to find this point,
Yes.
or get a taste of this point, and it happens to you because you drink too much.
Yes. It's
not fair, really.
It's pretty ironic, isn't it? Now, I want to be clear that this was the point at which my spiritual seeking began. This was not the end point of the spiritual seeking. It was what I would call the crack in the wall. Call it the wall of the ego or whatever. Because up till that moment, I was absolutely convinced I was the master of my destiny, that I was making it happen. But when this event happened, and it transformed me to the extent that I went from someone who was drinking a fifth of alcohol a day and doing a gram of cocaine every day just to get through the day, that to have this disappear and my not wanting it to disappear meant that something else was operative in the universe. And I mean, I couldn't argue that.
But you saw this clearly at the time, did you?
No, I had a sense of it. And I was fortunate to meet someone who had had a similar experience, you see.
Right.
And who had been, quote, struck sober. And he was able to share his experience with me. And because what I wanted to find out, I became intensely curious about, was what force in the universe was there that could do this to me?
But you see, that's a very intelligent response, and not everybody would have that.
No, but that was my response.
Yes, yeah. And did you stop drinking straight away?
Yeah, no, in that moment, the obsession that compelled me to drink disappeared.
So, okay, so it was the obsession that went,
Yes.
which means you could stop drinking because the obsession, the reason, had disappeared.
That's right.
And presumably it was the same with the drugs as well, was it?
Absolutely. No, it went as a package.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a gift from God in a way, wasn't it?
It felt very much like a gift. We can call it grace, if you like. It felt like grace, though I perceive it as grace now. At the time, I thought it was horrible. I didn't like people who didn't drink. I didn't associate with people that didn't drink. My whole social life was around the bars and the drug houses. And so I wasn't happy with this state of affairs right off the bat.
So what kind of response did you get from your old drinking pals?
Well, they didn't have very much. I didn't have very much in common with them anymore. What we shared primarily was our drinking.
Yeah.
That's what we did. drank and did drugs. When you stop doing that, there's not really much reason to associate any longer.
And were you functioning reasonably well in life in other ways? You think you had a business at the time?
Actually, my business had failed. I had been a bartender and a failed bartender, and things were not going particularly well for me at that time. I had the remnants of a business, but it was kept in place by a business partner who was able to work. But I was pretty much a mess, but I couldn't see it. So what happened was that when the obsession was removed and the clouds cleared, I could see what a mess I was. I was in horrible shape physically, and I mean spiritually, emotionally, I was bankrupt.
Okay, so what happened next?
Well, as I said, I began to be very interested in what power in the universe could transform me in this way. And this started what we'll call a spiritual search. I began to read everything. I was reading Buddhists, Sufis, Christian mystics, Taoists, across the board. And this friend I mentioned had a large spiritual library, and what he introduced me to, he said, "Come graze in it." He said, "Pick whatever interests you, take it home. If it interests you, read it. If not, come back and get something else." And that's what I did. So I began to experiment and look into all of these things, which are certainly familiar to most spiritual seekers, but were totally unfamiliar to me.
And what books particularly drew you at the time?
The books that drew me were the Taoist texts. The Tao Te Ching drew me very strongly. Chuang Tzu drew me very strongly. I was interested in some of the Buddhist things, Thich Nhat Hanh. I read Ram Dass. Those kinds of things spoke to me.
And then did you try some workshops and talks as well, or you just
I went to
reading?
Yes, I went to a few workshops and talks. I went to hear Ram Dass speak. I went to some conferences and things. Began to do Tai Chi. Started meditation practice. So I was trying. It was like walking through a spiritual bazaar. Like a Turkish bazaar or something. And there were all these people going, "Oh, try this. This is a very fine practice, sir. You'll enjoy this very much." Okay, well, and I was game. I was game to try just about anything.
It must have been a really exciting time, actually.
It was marvelous. And for 2 years, I was intensely involved in trying all kinds of things. It really almost didn't matter what it was. Just bring it on. Bring it on.
And then I think you went to the first American talk by Ramesh Balsekar, didn't you?
Yes, it was interesting because we had gone, a friend of mine, this friend who had introduced me to all these books and things, we had gone to hear this Ram Dass, the Timothy Leary compatriot,
Yes,
that Ram Dass.
Yeah.
He was involved with the Seva Foundation and doing talks for years to raise money for them. And so I attended with my friend one of these, and he got on the mailing list. And the fellow who brought Ramesh to the country, and Ramesh is my guru, this subsequently became my guru. The man who brought him got this mailing list, and he sent it out to my friend got one, and they were only charging $1. So we said, "What the hell? What do we got to lose?" And we went.